Hi, on this edition, I'm gonna talk about one of the fighting game series that I really enjoy, which is the King of Fighters. Last weekend was the Evo tournament, fighting game tournament, which is really famous all over the world, and one of the most exciting finals matches were in regards to King of Fighters 13, which is the latest version of this series. And I decided it brought back memories of me playing this game since the series started, and that's why I decided to talk about this game now. I started playing King of Fighters back in 1995 when I got to play the first version of it, King of Fighters 94, on the arcade on the Neo Geo MBS system. I remember that it was a local bakery shop that was close by to my middle school. The place didn't have had a few machines. I remember it had the first version, Killer Instinct, and Mortal Kombat, I believe. And one day I went there and I saw this game, the King of Fighters. And what was so different about it was that you had to pick a team of three players. And I saw familiar faces like the Fatal Fury team and also the Art of Fighting team. And at the time, I did not like the idea that you could not do the edit team. You had to select a team, and those three players were the ones you had. You could not pick and choose from the other teams. But anyway, I like the game. I like the style of it, and it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it a lot. It did not have the same following as Street Fighter, but in any case, it clicked with me, and I kept coming back to play it. I remember that during that summer, I stayed over at my one of my cousin's house, and he had a PlayStation. And when I went there, he had King of Fighters 95 on the PlayStation. And in this case, where I live at that time, you did not get the arcade games as soon as they came out. And in this case, it was a bakery, so I did not expect them to be like a local arcade place that are more on top of the new games and what's hot and what's not hot. So I got to play the game around 95, maybe 1996. So any case, I won. That's what I wanted to let you know, that even though it was King of Fighters 94, I got it maybe to play a year later than it was released because of the delays in getting to our country, and also that it was not a Street Fighter game, which was the arcade operators were looking for more to those games. In any case, I stayed this summer at my cousin's house and we played King of Fighters like 5 a lot. It was like every night, and just beating each other up and finishing the game sometimes. But we kept playing and playing and playing, and it was a lot of fun, and it got me very hooked to this series even more. So when while I was staying there, we went to the arcade place, to where the biggest arcade place they had where they live, and there they had King of Fighters 96. It was the first time that I saw it, and then I played it too, and it was a much more refined version than 94 and 95, and it was pretty amazing, really. So later on, I did not stay in touch with King of Fighters series. I did not see King of Fighters 97, and by the time I graduated, it was in 1999. I graduated from high school. King of Fighters was long gone. By that, I was looking at other fighting game series, more the Capcom titles, which were the ones that were readily available at the arcades, and that my friends were looking forward to. Big King of Fighters for my friends was not a big deal. They were aware of it, but they did not care too much about it. So when I started in college, I met a guy who got, well, before that, one of my friends from high school, he had a computer, and well, this is a touchy subject of the piracy. He had the emulator Neo Raychex, and there I saw the whole library of Neo Geo games that he had, and he was downloading. And one of those games was the my baby in the King of Fighters series, which is King of Fighters 98 Dream Match, which had a collection of a lot of the fighters from the previous three games, and it was so much more cooler looking, and the different options that you had. It was pretty amazing. So I loaded up. I got a burn CD with the emulator. I know I'm ashamed now of it. I don't do it anymore. But at the time, I was not caring about that. So yes, I booted on my emulator, got me a game fast for my first PC that I had for college, and my PC was my gaming console instead of using it to do my homework and school stuff. So I would play King of Fighters 98 a lot, and then I actually went online and got a FAQ for the move list and the combos, and I printed it. It was like more than 100 pages, but yes, I did. I misused my college materials and actually printed it out, and I started learning how to play as different characters and the move sets and the different versions of the characters that were available on the game. For example, you could have one of the character from one version, for example, King of Fighters 96 version of Kyo or Andy's version, and you could switch from them. So it will play a little bit differently, and their super moves will also be different. I'm sorry. So uh, I played kept playing that game, and sometimes we would get together and play it. And eventually, when I was taking my mom to go grocery shopping, I was made aware of an arcade place that was closer to my home, and they actually had King of Fighters 98. And this was around the year 99, almost year 2000. And then they came up and brought King of Fighters 99, which I was not very hot of. I The highlight for me of the series at this time was King of Fighters 98. So eventually I got to buy a Dreamcast, and I actually bought the King of Fighters 98 version of the Dreamcast, and I bought it from, I remember it was a local video store that was selling used copies of it. It cost me like $10, something like that. But I that was the first time that I had a physical copy of that game that I actually purchased. One since having a Neo Geo was out of the question. So I kept playing King of Fighters whenever I can with my friends, and I just kept trying to be up to date with the series. But I have to be honest. In any case, I had to keep you doing the download thing. I'm getting King of Fighters 99. I downloaded it on the PC, and King of Fighters 2000 and King of Fighters 2001 and King of Fighters 2002 to those games I had to download them. And in any case, later on, King of Fighters 2003 was not available on the same emulator. You had to buy it for the PlayStation 2, which I did not have at the time, so I did not get it on release date. Actually, I think I played it at a friend's house. I never owned it. The ones that I had, purchased or not, were until King of Fighters 2002. Later on, I got a copy of. I bought a Neo Geo Pocket when it was on its way out. They were getting big clearance of them, and you actually got the Neo Geo Pocket color with 10 games, and one of them was King of Fighters R2, which is a great port of King of Fighters for in a handheld. Is Even though it has only two buttons, it plays pretty cool, and the combos almost work, and the moves are pretty good. The analog stick on the Neo Geo Pocket does its job, and you can actually do the moves, and it works really well. And the roster is almost complete on that version of the game. They are super deformed version, chibi, if you can call them that too, but they look really cool, and they animate pretty well, and the colors, even though it's like a Game Boy color, it's not like full color console, but they look pretty cool, and you know which characters which you can recognize them with no problem. So I did not get any of the Game Boy versions, really, and at this time I do own a PlayStation 3, but I do not own any of the King of Fighters latest, like King of Fighters 12. That was not very good. The critics did not like it very much, and King of Fighters 13, which was the one that was featured had a finals tournament on Evo, and it got me really psyched for the series. So I think I'm gonna check that one out when I have the chance. The 3D games, the King of Fighters, I believe, was King of Fighters Maniacs, and in the US, I think that one of the games was King of Fighters 2003, something like that. And no, not 2003, but it was one of the versions that was it is a 3D version of the game, which is 101 instead of 303. But that one, I have not played yet. I was not too hot on it. I don't think I was not hooked on it. I did not care for it that much. So um, then I eventually got to buy for the PS2. When I actually eventually got a PS2, I got to buy a copy of King of Fighters 11, which I have not played that much. I played a little bit when I bought it, but I left it aside and have not come back to it. And also on the Wii, I got the King of Fighters anthology, which has King of Fighters 94 through 19 to King of Fighters 98, which for me that's the greatest collection. And I was really happy when I got it. I got it used, but I was happy about it because I got it pretty cheap, and it has a lot of the games that I actually grew up playing and caring the most about. I do check the series once in a while to see how's it going. But since I don't buy games on release date, sometimes I don't even get them all. But I do get to play it with my friends and when we get the chance. Um, it was the first fighting game series that I actually cared about knowing everything before. By when Street Fighter, I care about knowing the moves, but I did not get into the whole combo thing. And but in King of Fighters, I was actually really invested in it, and I guess it had to do with was something that even though it was a fighting game, it was not a fighting game that everybody knew, and I thought, okay, this is my niche. A fighting game series that not everybody knows, and the characters were so different in contrast to the Capcom Street Fighter games. You had so many different moves, and even though you could fire firewalls with some characters, that did not give you an easy way to win because you could evade fireballs, and it had a lot of gameplay mechanics that Capcom at that time did not acknowledge at all, and sometimes it doesn't. For the most, they don't use. But SNK, I believe that they created a great series, and it has survived with its ups and downs. But it's good to see that now on the tournament, it had a chance to shine, and people that were not aware of the series, so did not care much for it, would actually say, "Hey, this is a cool thing." And they can try it out because it is a great series. The characters are much more interesting. It's one of the first fighting game series that I saw that the characters actually, if they had a rivalry, right before the match started, they have some type of interaction that was not seen before. Even in Street Fighter 4, they interact, but it's not like it's on the rival battle, and it's not very good actually. It's like it doesn't look like something that would flow between two fighters. Instead, on King of Fighters, that thing has been, I believe, there since King of Fighters '96, if I'm not mistaken. And also, King of Fighters series tries to bring much of a more of a story in regards to the games. The story is not that great. The best example at this time of a story on fighting game series is Mortal Kombat, the reboot, and that's saying much because it's not that great either. But it's a fighting game. You don't need that much of an excuse to beat people up, right? But it's there. And King of Fighters has always tried to bring some type of story instead of on the games that are the dream matches where they bring all the characters together. Those ones, they don't bring too much of a story because actually sometimes some of those characters are supposed to be dead, according to the previous versions of the game. So they just they put little excuse just to put every character that you like in the game and have it to you, then adding some features. Also, King of Fighters series has that sometimes a game version has been released several times. For example, King of Fighters '94, if I'm not mistaken, has been released like 4 or 5 times between PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and some other versions. But they do have to that repeat version, and sometimes they add different characters and different modes, just to give you an incentive to check out the game. Right now, I believe that they're going in a great direction, but because for the longest time, more than 10 years, the character sprites were pretty much the same, and it got pretty old. You were seeing like Street Fighter and other series were evolving, and they were stuck with the style because I understand for budget reasons they were not the biggest publisher at the time, but they have been doing really well now. The characters look pretty cool, pretty updated, and I'm pretty psyched about the series. I think that is gonna be doing a little bit better, and with the whole resurgence of the fighting game community, it's gonna get better and better. Well, that's what I wanted to say. I have to say it's a great series. I really enjoy it, and I expect to get King of Fighters 13 before King of Fighters 14 is released. So, take care and thanks for listening.